Welcome, everyone, to Mythstorie, a podcast about myths and history. I am one of your hosts, Bryant. Joining me, as always, is my permanent guest, my esteemed permanent guest. I'll give you that adjective. Is
Thank you.
esteemed an adjective? That's an
Yeah.
adjective, right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cammy, hey,
Hey, how are
how's it
you?
going? I'm okay.
Good.
I'm okay. We're good. You know, my mom had that surgery, but it was good. She's chilling. We're still here doing remote podcasting. I'll put that at the front of the podcast just to throw that in there. I've been meaning to, and I'm glad I remembered. With the global pandemic, we're going to do this. If you're just joining or something like that, this is just how we're recording right now. But we do plan, once it's safer to do the regular show where we can see each other and point and laugh. But for
And
now,
things you can't see.
we're here. Yeah. So, Cammy, what is Mythstorie? Why are we here?
Like the podcast?
Yeah.
Well, it's a podcast about myths and the history behind them. And
Okay.
each week we pick a different topic.
Mhm.
It could be, a cryptid, or it could be just some fun local stories like the ones we did last week.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it could be a famous Chinese warrior, which is what we're doing this week.
Yes. So my joke I was gonna say, all right, Cammy, you're in Jingzhou, China, okay?
Okay.
And you're walking around, and you see this 193 foot tall, 1,300 ton statue. Who does it have to be?
Guan Yu.
Guan Yu, the man himself. That's who we're talking about today. And this is a really interesting topic because this guy is like Thor on steroids.
Yeah, but he existed.
Exactly. Well, hey, can you disprove that Thor existed? I'm sure there was some blonde dude named Thor in like 3000 BC who was like, lightning bolt.
I know a guy whose first name is Thor and his last name is Thorson.
Yeah. I mean, well, there you go. I wonder if there's a bunch of Guan Yus running around.
So he's like Thor, son of Thor.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's just the coolest name ever.
Yeah. Well, Guan Yu is really interesting. He was very real, and we'll talk the specifics soon. But he's also super relevant today, and not just because he's in the Avengers like Thor. It's not that kind of relevance, but it's similar. It's a crazy. This is a cool like avenue we're going down, and I'm really excited to talk about this. I'll throw out at the beginning, because I'm sure I'll reference it more, that the idea that sparked me to talk about this was the video game series by Tecmo Koei, Dynasty Warriors, is based on the 14th century novel, The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which features Guan Yu as a very prominent character. Spoilers, he dies. Sorry if you were picking up that 14th century novel. Damn it. But we'll go into that. But I know, Cammy, you're going to regale us with a couple stories of this fantastic literal god of war. So please let us know what you've got.
Sure. Guan Yu was a warrior so revered he became a god after his death. He was such a brave man and so impervious to pain. During one memorable evening, it is said he was at a banquet and needed an operation to be performed on his arm. Instead of leaving to seek medical attention, the doctor came to him. While Guan Yu laughed and ate, the doctor performed the much-needed surgery. It's easy to see why a man like this would be worshipped after his death as the god of war. Very early in the text of romance, and my sources, so Romance of the Three Kingdoms by Luo Guanzong.
Luo Guanzong, yep.
Luo Guanzong, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then livescience.com, Owen Jarvis, and then there's a Wikipedia entry that I used for the Green Dragon Crescent Blade. So I figured I'd throw that in there because there is another story of this exact thing happening where he got shot with a poison dart or arrow, and then it seeped into his arm, and so he had to have the surgery. But he decided during the surgery to play a game of Go. So.
Go. That's what he was playing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen I was going to talk about this in my part, but I'll just mention it because it's good. There's a 19th century Japanese woodcut of him, and it's so badass. It's the very iconic Guan Yu in the green robes, the long beard, and yeah, he's just like, there's a doctor operating on his right arm, and he's just cheating out to the painting and just playing Go, and he's just like, yeah, go ahead, do it, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah.
Very early in the text of romance, Guan Yu meets with two other men. They perform a ritual that makes them brothers, although they're not related through lineage. Liu Bei and Zhang Fei, who were both very brave men and famous during their time of their own right. Liu Bei was the warlord of what would become his kingdom of Shu. And that the three kingdoms, so there was, I don't remember the names of it. It was like Wei, Shu, and what was the other one?
Wei, Shu, and Wu.
And Wu. Okay, yeah, that's right. Thank you. The men fought together for a time until Guan Yu was captured by a general called Cao Cao. He would eventually control the kingdom of Wei. Cao Cao treated Guan Yu very well as a captive and prized him as a warrior. He promoted our hero as the lieutenant general of his army. Guan Yu had sworn an oath to his brother, Lei Bei, so he escaped and went back to him. But first he murdered Yan Lang, who was a general in the rival army of Cao Cao. So of course he did that so that he kind of felt like he owed him a debt, and so he did that so he wouldn't owe him a debt anymore, I guess. But then he went back to his brother. One item which almost certainly didn't exist made Guan Yu a fierce fighter in hand-to-hand combat: his green dragon crescent blade. This weapon was a guandao, which resembles sort of like a scythe, except for the blade is in line with its pole instead of jutting out to the side. And this blade is rumored to have weighed 40 pounds, but Guan Yu could effortlessly swing it with one hand. As legend tells, when the blacksmith was forging the brutal weapon, a green dragon flew over him. Guan Yu slayed the beast, and the body was used to create the weapon and endow it with magical powers. Another name for this blade was the Frost Fair Blade, because during the harsh winter battles, the blood of Guan Yu's enemies would freeze on the blade, making a layer of bloody frost that would slice through the armor of other warriors. Though Guan Yu fought bravely and killed thousands, mastering naval warfare and upholding loyalty to his brothers, his support eventually dwindled. He was overtaken by Lu Meng, a general of Sun Quan's army. Guan Yu and Guan Ping, who was his son, were killed, but his reputation of a fierce warrior and loyal friend caused him to be worshipped as a god until today.
Yes, yeah, literally a god. I love this. He was given many titles throughout the centuries, but my favorite one was in 1614, the Wanli Emperor. This is from Wikipedia, so I'm quoting here. Bestowed on Guan Yu the title Holy Emperor Guan, the great god who subdues demons in the three worlds and whose awe spreads far and moves heaven. So it
sounds like he was able to do that.
His
sure.
like name tag would say that. Yeah. Cammy, thank you.
Yeah.
Those were I knew the story of him getting the surgery, and he's just like, it's nothing, but I didn't know the full story of the Dragon Crescent Blade, which is super iconic. So this is the super heavy giant statue I mentioned, and any image of him will almost always be the same. It's him in these robes from the period, long beard, like his beard is just as like magical as he is, and then this really specific pole axe or polearm dragon crescent blade. And when you unlocked that thing in any Dynasty Warriors game, it was great. You just killed everybody really quickly. It was awesome. So
could you swing it with one hand in the game?
He definitely. I mean, like, the game.
Oh,
it was
you
really
play as him?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then
Yeah,
you can swing it with one hand. Okay.
right. Yeah. The whole. So I guess I'll start that. Like, Dynasty Warriors was really great. It was a fun. It's a super mindless hack and slash. Like, it's funny. Like, mainstream gamers kind of think it's dumb because it is extremely repetitive, and it gets a rehash every couple of years, and it's almost like when Madden gets a new Madden, it's like what's changing. But it's really
The
cool. Like,
defense.
right, yeah. What's great about Dynasty Warriors? I mean, I learned the period of time Guan Yu was alive. He died he died in around 219 or 220 A.D. at the very end of the Han Dynasty, which started 400 years prior. And the Han Dynasty is considered the golden age, or a golden age in Chinese history, and it's a very special period of unification. And I mean, China is well known for technological advances. My other video game references Civilization, and China will always get incredible bonuses to like science in the early game. Like they'll have writing and other advanced techniques before other civs do typically. So, and that's definitely a big part of their history. And it's really nice for us too because they did chronicle this stuff pretty darn well. Well, so Dynasty Warriors, like other things, is based off of this really famous novel, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And I like to think so. This was this 14th century novel, which is credited to be written by Luo Guanzong. I say that because it doesn't look like it's 1,000% certain that it was written by him. I think it's a little bit like how we talk about how Shakespeare, like there's the was Shakespeare real debate. So Luo Guanzong, though, he did write other things that were and edited a few other famous. There's like these 4 awesome classical texts, and this is one of them. And he, I think, edited another. Anyway, so this thing was huge, and it's from its conception became. It's considered today to be just like an incredibly important, great work of art in just the world in general. It's spawned operas that were carried out almost immediately. And Guan Yu's imagery, like the novels, you can find on Wikipedia and other websites. I actually also use Wikipedia and Life Science, like Cammy did, had a really good piece on it. Guan Yu's images, like the beautiful drawings, will be in there, and they kind of look like what you kind of would expect of a 14th century Chinese artwork. But Guan Yu is that image, it seems like has been burned in from that period and continues today from this 14th century drawing. I didn't actually, I don't know. I'll try and see if I can look real fast if there's many images before the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but it was in 700 A.D., a couple hundred years after his death is when he really started to become super important. But along the way, though, so I mean, I just don't know what kind of made the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And so we say romance, not really in a way of like these three kingdoms were in love with each other, but romance in I'm trying to think of like the best definition. It's epic. I mean, that's really like the epic of the three kingdoms, I think might sound a little bit better, or make more sense. Romance does sound pretty cool though. And I wrote a note. I'm going to link, there's a great YouTube video, there was a 1999, I think, production of, it was like a show, like HBO style, like a long TV show with beefy episodes and a high budget. There's one of Guan Yu's death scene, and he gets captured and he's stabbed by like 5 guys and he's like still alive, and then they capture him, and I guess they didn't want to show him like dying on screen, so the screen goes, the scene shifts, and it's Liu Bei, and he receives, like, he's in this room with these advisors, and one messenger comes in, he's like, Lord Guan Yu has been captured by Lu Meng and the Wu, and then like they're like, what? No, this is crazy, like we have to immediately get him back, and blah blah blah. And then another messenger comes in and he's like, Lord Guan Yu has escaped but then was recaptured by Lu Meng of the Wu, and they're like, what? This is crazy, we have to go get him. And then he talks to the advisors, and then a third messenger comes in, like this is within like a 3-minute period, and he's like, Lord Guan Yu has been executed by Lu Meng. It's just like how do you know all this?
That is how the story goes, though. Oh yeah, I mean, I guess how did
it
the
is as
messenger know
rapid?
it?
Yeah, but it's literally like he's reading like a Twitter feed, and it's so rapid. Like it's so he just one after the other. It's just like bang,
well, it
bang,
is.
bang.
It's like sentence, basically.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So, yeah, I love the arm injury story too. I mean, there's a lot there. Like we could do several episodes, I think, on him in general. But I think what I kind of wanted to get across here is the importance of the Han Dynasty culturally. Think of it like I think of like Rome and how the Western world looks to Rome. In an interesting way. It's a bias, in the mindset of a lot of the Western world, right? And this period, I think, it kind of has that same representation. And then
that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, we
seems to be really glorified.
It really is. I mean, it was a great period, and it's like, well, how much of a connection does a Roman citizen in Rome today, can he go and think like, yeah, I'm connected to the 96 AD generals of old, like can he? I mean, sure he can. That's totally fine. Just as much as I can like wish I had a connection to Constantinople. But it is. I mean, this was such a formative period, and it really shaped the nation in a lot of ways. And the battle of the Three Kingdoms was incredibly divisive too. I mean, China is encircled by barbarians. That's kind of what they literally called them. But I mean, they had the Mongolian and the people of the steppe like constantly attacking them, and then the Three Kingdoms period was basically like a medieval land grabbing fiefdom, thing going on, where it was just lords fighting other lords that were, everyone was ununified. But the romance is really cool because it's story, but it does tell a lot of rich history. And the Dynasty Warrior games I really loved because I know God so much. It was funny, Cammy and I were talking about pronunciations before, and Cao Cao, the original leader of the Wei, he's kind of a villain in a sense, especially I think in the story, and definitely in Dynasty Warriors. He's sort of seen as like the apex villain, really, of the series, driving it. And his name is spelled Cao, and the old Dynasty Warrior games would call him Cao Cao. And why not? I mean, Cao, that looks like almost like Coco or Cow, and eventually they caught it, like they learned, oh, we're not pronouncing it right. So one Dynasty Warriors
for like
game,
5 games, right?
Literally, yeah. I think it was like it was either 5 or 6 or 7 that they finally got it right, and they started calling him Cao Cao. And I remember playing it with my best friend, and we were just like, wait, what? What does that mean? Like, why are they saying Cao Cao? And we would Google it, and they're like, yeah, they had it completely wrong this whole time. So, but it's cool because the Dynasty Warriors games are huge in America, in Europe, in Japan. I mean, it's a Japanese company that makes it. So and like I said, there was the 19th century Japanese wood carving of Guan Yu getting his surgery done. So he has really transcended culture beyond just a localized Chinese like belief. Like Thor is pretty localized, but I mean Guan Yu really goes out there, and all this really goes out there too. And like it was an eventual. He kind of went from awesome soldier during the end of the Golden Age to this legendary soldier from the end of the Golden Age to just quite literally a god. And there's an injection of Guan Yu in modern in Taoism and Buddhism, and there's a lot there too. Like there's beliefs that Guan Yu was Buddhist, and so even though there's an asynchronicity here where the telling of the romance, so the 14th century take in the romance, it's like we've talked about the pole axe, his crescent dragon blade, and how you and I found that kind of weapon was not really was likely not used during the period he was around, and there's even a rumor that he invented it, or a legend that he invented it. And so this 14th century take on things, and not just a 14th century take, but he started becoming a deity essentially in 600 AD. So like a few hundred years after he became a god, essentially, is when this came out. So there's a lot of I'm sure there's a proper term, but asynchronous sort of history kind of depicting him. So we see this character from 220 AD. And
it sounds like he's retrofitted to
there we go.
Culture.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, that's a really great way. I would say it's almost like, when they did Shakespeare's plays set in ancient times, I'm sure, they weren't able to emulate it perfectly, accurately at all. And there were tools and things that wouldn't have been there or something like that. I think that's a great way to kind of think about it.
Or
yeah, please.
Romeo plus Juliet. Did you see it?
Yeah. With Leo? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Leo, how you doing? I know you're listening. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. But yes, so he's rooted in Taoist culture, rooted in Buddhist culture as sort of a protector, just a important, kind of similar to in a way that Thor is, but there's no pantheon here, mind you. It's just sort of like this dude's so awesome that he's just legendary. And then there also, like, Wikipedia kind of talks about the localized folk religions in China is another way to sort of see it. He's got shrines. A lot of people will have a shrine, a basic shrine, or just a statue of him. Police stations, and even like I guess you could say like the mob will also kind of have statues dedicated to him, and will regularly like pray and see him as an honor. He's seen as he's claimed to be a god of war for his bravery and loyalty, and he had his brotherhood pact with Zhang Fei and Liu Bei. It's crazy. I mean, he's just totally ingrained. I mean, to this day, right now, at some Chinese police station, a dude going on the shift is like, "Let's get him, Guan Yu," So,
and then the crime family is also saying that.
It's like, yeah, let's get him, Guan Yu. It's a pirate. I read on the Wikipedia article mentions actually that apparently at the shrines, the police station shrines, Guan Yu will be holding his crescent blade in the right hand, and in the baddies we'll have him holding in the left hand.
Oh wow!
Yeah, to denote the goodness and badness. I don't know why as a criminal I'd be like, yeah, I'm a baddie. But yeah, so
yeah, that is weird. Like, do you think of yourself as a bad guy when you're
right?
When other people see you as the bad guy, and usually not. The Last of Us 2 taught us that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh God. So I'll wrap up soon because I really could go on for quite a while. This is just so it's fun for me because I recognize and I have an image of these characters in my brain. I mean, I've been playing it Dynasty Warriors 3. I was in 5th grade. I graduated high school in 2010, just to give listeners a reference. So I was in 5th grade when I played Dynasty Warriors 3 on the PlayStation 2. And all these characters were in there. And it was cool because you could play the story mode by kingdom and by character. So I could play the Shu storyline as Guan Yu, and I would do a dozen or half a dozen battles of that were chronologically correct. There's some looseness here, but that happened in the romance and in real life. Again, this is kind of fiction working in nonfiction and vice versa. And so I got to I knew Guan Ping as soon as I was reading in Wikipedia. Guan Ping, I was like, yeah, it's his kid. He has a giant sword. I remember. And Guan Yu's got this. I mean, it's really fun. And then you can play as the Wu. You can play as Lu Meng, the guy who captured and killed him. And you got a mission where you got to capture and kill him, and it's hard as hell. And
I bet.
Right. And if you play in the Wei kingdom as Cao Cao, you'll capture him and then you'll let him go. So I have gotten to know these characters and these people through these games, and so reading about it it's just really cool. We could probably do like another episode where we talk about his death a little bit, or maybe something else, because there's just some cool things there. But I'll say, so like as far as references go, oh, here we go. I just found my note real quick. So it is starting during the Sui dynasty in 581 to 618. That's the note I was looking for earlier. That's really where he started to go into a whole nother plane of existence in modern life. And like during this period, the Guandao started being used and got associated with him, I believe. And then you would even see instances throughout the next few hundred years, up into literally into the Cantonese that migrated to California in the 1800s, of worshiping Guan Yu. And like even generals during, like, there's a battle in 1402 where there was a coup d'etat that was a successful coup d'etat, and the guy who did it, Zhu Di, he claimed that he was blessed by Guan Yu. So in 1402, this guy was like, Guan Yu's got my back. So, and I think that was before. No, that would have been after the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So yeah, this dude literally read the Romance of the Three Kingdoms and overthrew his like nephew, and was like holding it up like some kid with like Harry Potter, and was like, yeah. No, but there. So as far as like sources go, and Luao Guanzong, I got to look at it to pronounce it. They like the chronicle. There was a lot of chronicling. There was a lot of writing. There were biographies of like Liu Bei and a lot of these other prominent figures in the time period and after the time period. The Han Dynasty was well written, so a lot of these sources are used. There is a authoritative source. It's called The Records of the Three Kingdoms by Chen Zhou in the 3rd century. So about 100 years after all this dude's like, I gotta write that down. That was really crazy. And so that's kind of where we find the truths and lies of it all, or I would say the truths and the fiction in it all. And that's kind of where it's all broken down. I mean, I'm sure you could find some great sources. There's tons of stuff that's written on this, but I'm sure you could find some great sources that kind of tell you.
Did that guy write about the game of Go?
I don't know.
About the banquet, like whichever it was supposed to be.
Oh, when he was getting
where
his
he was
surgery
getting
thing?
his arm surgery.
I don't know. I don't know if he went as specific as that.
Because
yeah.
that was the most like badass story. Just like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and play a game, or I'm gonna continue eating, whichever one it was.
Right. Yeah. It could have been like, was it 2 events, or was it like the story of getting injured and then doing something, and then it just became, in one case no, he was playing Go, and another place no, he was at a banquet. I like to think it was the Go, like he was just like, like it's a lot like chess in a lot of ways, and he was just like, no, I'll play, it's cool.
Let me do something to occupy my mind while this is happening.
Right. So yeah, and there's tons of other. There's the records of Shu. There's the Book of the Wei. The kingdom, not Way but Wei. There's the history of Wu. So there are these chronicles and pieces that are used to sort of cross reference, and I believe that's sort of how Luo Guanzong was able to kind of write his fictional historical fiction based in reality, based in the chronicles of the times, by cross-referencing these sort of things. And I mean, we could there's a ton we can go off of here. There's like a super famous red-haired horse that is featured in this. Lu Bu is like a crazy general that was real during this time period, who is a part of it all. There's some really cool stuff that we can revisit here.
Oh, you mentioned the red horse. Sometimes he's depicted as painted red. I can't remember what it signifies, but I think it's like bravery or something.
Right. Yes, I've seen that too. Yeah. I think it is. It's just sort of like his power, his brashness. And I've seen like Chinese or originated paintings. I've seen Japanese originated paintings or art, works of art. And he'll have like a red feature to him. It's just so crazy. I mean, this dude is super famous. Like, and I I don't know if I have it pulled up, but yeah. So his name was Chang Sheng, but later changed to Yun Chang, and he was registered as being from the Hedong province, but eventually became Guan Yu, which is his. Oh God, there's a special word for it. It's what is it? I'd have to look it up. It's
don't know.
Something name, like not damn. There's a special term. It's a kind of a name bestowed upon you, upon a person.
Oh, like somebody else gives you like a trail name. It was his trail name.
Maybe yeah. It's just yeah. But either way, Guan Yu is how he's best known now. Lord Guan is what like you'll usually like see like the subtitles say in like the fun YouTube videos. But yeah, it's the Romance of the Three Kingdoms book is still prominent today. I'm sure you can find like free versions of it or really like newer versions that are translated. There's TV shows that have been done of it. I think even as recent as like the early teens, 20 teens, that you can find. I'm going to try and link that YouTube video in the podcast description just because it's really funny of Guan Yu's death, just Liu Bei's, like having to constantly react. And like I said, they didn't show his death scene either because if you read about his death, they like specifically like are careful about they behead him and they're like really careful not to like mess up his beard just because of how beautiful it is. I mean, it's just so.
Oh wow!
It's so yeah. It's God. Like these stories. It reminds me of Thor and just the crazy stories about his hammer and going off and Loki screwing up stuff. But it's just like it's all Guan Yu and he's just doing everything. So oh yeah, I loved it. I think I've gone on my tangent enough. We're 10 minutes ahead of what I expected. So I really hope this episode isn't just like me going crazy. But it touches me in a unique way because of my childhood connection to all of this. I mean, my literal childhood connection to these figures. But I've never really I've Googled a thing here or there, but I've never looked at it this much. And even I say this much, even that there's so much more to go from here. Like I said, I really just wanted to prime everybody in general of Han Dynasty, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and their importances to Chinese culture, and the Sui Dynasty, wherein Guan Yu kind of started to really pop up there as a legend. So, Cammy, thank you for jumping in. I'm really I know you had no connection really, so I
didn't know much about it at all, but it was really, really interesting. I mean, this guy was just so cool,
Mm-hmm.
like everything he did was just so cool.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to read about him. Even the older text, like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah.
Of course, I had a digital document and I searched for his name, so I didn't read the whole text or anything.
Oh, but it's pretty long. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, normally when I'm looking through myths, like I've already read the myth.
Right.
So if I need to look at it, it takes me like maybe 10 minutes. But I mean, I was sitting down like actually reading, full on reading it.
Yeah.
Really paying attention. So it was
awesome.
really nice. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the story or stories, cool. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoy this episode as well. Go and pick up a copy of Dynasty Warriors 8 today if you want to immerse yourself in Chinese culture and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Or you can there's the strategy game too, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is like a more literal, less fantastical version of it. It's really fun. Anyway, thank you, Cammy.
Or once you could read the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can be
if
weird.
If you don't play video
books.
games, you could do that too.
You can read if you really want to, I guess.
You're in quarantine, why not?
Well, thanks again, everyone. Remember, we've got our Facebook group, Mythstorie with an IE. We also have our Gmail, mythstorie@gmail.com. Hit us up if you have any suggestions, if you like the show, if you want us to hit a certain topic, let us know. Or if you even, I think I forgot to mention this, if we've talked about something and are blatantly wrong or missed something that you think is super important, absolutely tell us. We will be 1,000% extra happy to throw that out
Yeah,
there.
call us
And
out.
absolutely, yeah. This show. I threw Cammy on the spotlight, asking her what the show is earlier, and she did a great job of talking about it. But this show is for us to sort of explore these myths, talk about some of our favorite ones, but also to explore new ones. And in doing that, I'm sure that some Guan Yu fan out there is going to be like, you didn't talk about blah blah blah. And if it was super important, Guan Yu fan 69, let us know and we will we will fix that. That's a Gmail or something out there.
It is. Let's just email that Gmail and see what we get.
Right, yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we will see you all next time. Take care, Cammy. I'll see ya.